This is R2D Tech and we're back with another video this week. This time we're going to have a look at the Mercedes EQS, so stay tuned. So Mercedes have been showing off their new EQS, which is going to be the electric version of one of their most luxurious sedans. So the EQS is basically Mercedes' version of a really luxurious electric sedan. I guess you could say it's the rival to something like the Tesla Model S, which is also a sedan. But as you know, Mercedes are all about luxury interiors, and they've been doing this for a long time. So the interior of this car is quite a bit different from what you might see in a Tesla. So in terms of design, the car does look quite futuristic on the exterior, but it still definitely looks like a Mercedes sedan. They have stuck to their classic design language in lots of areas. The interior also looks really futuristic, where they've included lots of LED lighting, which is very customizable, but also you've got really nice, luxurious seating and massages and all sorts of things on the interior, basically anything you could want in a car. I would say that the seats look more like a business class aeroplane seat than a car seat. So in terms of some of the techie features you get on the interior, every seat actually has access to the voice assistant, where I think you just say, "Hey Mercedes," and then your command, and it'll answer you. And the cool thing is it knows who's asking the question. And when you say, "Hey Mercedes," your seat will light up, not everyone else's, and it will just listen to you using the microphone which is closest to your seat. As you might expect, there are driver profiles, so when you get into the car, it will remember your seating position and things like that, which is quite useful. But surprisingly, there's also the same sort of thing for the passengers. So it will remember their customized features as well. And there's also a fingerprint scanner, so if it doesn't do that, then you can just log in with your fingerprint and it will customize your seating area based on who you are. This car actually has climate control, which is specific to each passenger. So supposedly each passenger can have whatever temperature air they want blowing at them without annoying the other passengers. In reality, because it's all going into the same cabin, one will probably affect the other slightly, but at least you can have a more specific airflow in your position. In addition to all of this, if that wasn't enough, each passenger has their own infotainment system and they can connect to it separately with separate Bluetooth connections. So theoretically, every single passenger could be watching their own thing with their own headset and just do whatever they want, really. Even the middle seat in the back, which doesn't have a screen in front of it, obviously, because there's the gap between the two front seats, has its own tablet which you can pull out from the console in the middle seat. It does seem to be quite an outdated Samsung tablet, but I guess it's better than nothing. Now, the front displays are where things get more interesting, because Mercedes have made what they call the Hyperscreen infotainment system, which I believe you have to pay extra for. But this gives you a 12-inch display in front of the steering wheel, an 18-inch display in the middle, which is portrait, and then another 12-inch landscape display for the second passenger. This is all behind one sheet of glass, and altogether, it makes the Hyperscreen infotainment system. They kind of try and market it as one huge display, because it is all under one sheet of glass. It can seem that way at times, but it is those separate free displays. Nevertheless, it looks very clean and extremely futuristic. If anything, this is one of the features that makes this car stand out from all of their other lineups. To me, this really makes the car seem more like a spaceship on the inside than a normal vehicle, which I guess is what they were going for. The only thing which is quite a big downside in my opinion is the software that the displays run. It is very outdated. I think it's the same software or similar to the one that they've been using on their other vehicles in the past. The maps looks really outdated on it, and just the whole UI, the whole interface looks really outdated and definitely not suited for this really futuristic looking car. And if anything, it's slightly laggy as well. That's not to say it doesn't have a ton of features. It has anything you could possibly want in a car, but the UI could definitely have been a bit better. The plus side though is that it is a software thing, so there's definitely the chance that sometime in the future they'll push a software onto the car which will be a lot nicer. Now let's talk about battery and range, which of course is very important when it comes to electric cars. So as standard, you'll get a 108 kilowatt hour battery, which is actually pretty large, and they say it will get you up to 478 miles of range, which I think is really impressive actually. I'm pretty sure it's more than my diesel car is currently getting. But anyway.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
Yes, this is slightly less than Tesla claim their Model S Plaid Plus edition will get, which is 520 miles. But it's a lot more than the Porsche Taycan and most other electric vehicles at the moment. So I'm very happy with this. Of course, only time will tell how much this figure actually holds up, because in some cars like the Porsche Taycan, it has been seen that the claimed figure is not exactly realistic because it requires extremely ideal conditions. If you do want to save some money though, Mercedes will be offering a cheaper model of the EQS with a 90 kilowatt hour battery, which they claim will give you around 400 miles of range. Now, this is still a really good amount of range, and if you do need to make some savings, this is definitely probably the way to go. In terms of performance, if you opt for the base model, which is the Mercedes EQS 450 Plus, this will be a rear-wheel drive car, and you'll be able to get from 0 to 60 in about 6.2 seconds. This figure is pretty good, but it's nothing crazy compared to some Teslas out there, or even some other vehicles. On the other hand, if you do opt for the more expensive EQS 580 4MATIC, if that's how you say that, then you will be able to get from 0 to 60 in about 4.3 seconds, which is a bit better than the base model. Again, it's not the best out there, but to be honest, do you really need faster acceleration than that on the road? Probably not. In terms of charging speed, which is definitely something to consider when you get an electric vehicle, if you use the 200 kilowatt public chargers, then you should be able to get 186 miles of charge in around 15 minutes, which is really impressive. On the other hand, if you're trying to charge at home with the standard 11 kilowatt charger which comes with the car, then it will take you a lot longer than this, something like 10 hours. You can upgrade this to the 22 kilowatt charger, which will get you to 100% in around 5 hours, but still it's a long time to wait. I guess if you have a driveway, then this longer charging time at home isn't really a big deal because you can just set it to charge while you're sleeping and it'll be ready when you wake up. Also, the decent public charging speed of 186 miles in 15 minutes will mean that as long as you can have some public chargers around when you go on a road trip, it shouldn't take long to charge up, or shouldn't take too long compared to some other electric vehicles. Going on road trips in an electric vehicle is just going to be slightly more difficult in the short-term future than taking a diesel or petrol car out, because you can refuel a diesel or petrol car in a matter of like 1 or 2 minutes, whereas you have to wait up to an hour to fully recharge your electric vehicle. But that's just the way it is, and I'm sure they'll improve with that quite a lot in the future. There are quite a few extra features which I haven't mentioned in this video, one of which is that it comes with air suspension, which is quite important, and it does mean that it will smooth over bumps quite nicely. The other thing is that because the vehicle is electric and it's pretty silent on the inside, with the exception of some tire noise, they have added some simulated sounds which you can actually add if you want the car to sound, say, more sporty, or just have a sound in general, because lots of people, myself included, really like the feel of a petrol or diesel car just because of the noises that you get when you accelerate, whereas on, say, a Tesla, it can be pretty silent. That sort of thing is just up to personal preference, and it's nice that they give you the option. The last thing to talk about is price and release date, which of course are quite important. Release date sometime this summer, which is really close, quite exciting stuff there. And in terms of price, it seems that the base model will be around £80,000, but if you do want to get upgraded to the 4-wheel drive and some higher specs, it will be upwards of £100,000. So this is definitely a really expensive luxury vehicle. And of course, you can get some other options out there like the Tesla Model 3, which are more budget friendly and have quite a lot of cool features as well. It is important to mention though that this is what Mercedes are going for. They're trying to make a very luxury sedan here, whereas something like the Tesla Model 3 is quite minimalist on the inside and definitely lacks a lot of interior luxury and some build quality, which you get a lot more of on a car like this from Mercedes. It seems that both companies, Tesla and Mercedes, make a compromise in some area. So Mercedes have made a compromise where their software isn't that good, but you get all the features you want and extreme luxury, really good build quality, whereas Tesla have gone for excellent software experience, but the interior design isn't so luxurious, it's very minimalist, and the build quality does have some issues in some places. I personally think the Mercedes are on quite the right track at the moment because pushing a software update is easier, I think, than redesigning the whole vehicle, which Tesla would have to do if they wanted to compete on the luxury market. I'm just really hoping that Mercedes do push a really good software update sometime soon because they're definitely in need of one. Is this a great car with a ton of features and probably one of the best electric cars out there? Definitely. It's got really good range. It's got all the features you could possibly ask for. It's really luxurious. The build quality is excellent, as with most Mercedes, but the software's not that good. The trade-off, of course, for all of this excellency is that you do have to pay a ton of money for it. For this reason, this car really isn't like the mass market vehicle for everyone because it is extremely expensive, but for those people that can afford it, it is quite a good option. I personally prefer the design of something like the Porsche Taycan, but they are going for different things. The Porsche Taycan is clearly meant to be more of a sports car, whereas this car, the EQS, is definitely meant to be more of a sedan, luxury, comfortable vehicle. For me personally, I still prefer the Teslas just because I'm a tech guy and software is really important to me. But objectively, if you leave out software, Mercedes have made a very well polished design here. That's it for this week. We've definitely not covered everything because I'm not exactly a car expert, but hopefully we've gone through some of the most important things with the Mercedes EQS. If you like the video, then please leave a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future or anything to do with technology, then definitely subscribe and hit the notification bar below.